Would you say big picture, Giuntoli is failing Juventus at the minute, Grella?
If you give him a report card from his time at Juventus, it's absolutely a failure. 1,000,000% a failure.
The 26-year-old French forward, he's had stints with Nantes, PSG, Frankfurt and a couple of other clubs as well. 76 goals from 246 career appearances, won 4 trophies along the way, 3 of which came with PSG. He's also been capped for France as well, scoring 8 goals, was on the 2022 World Cup team that lost to Argentina in the final. This is interesting, Nigel, isn't it, from an attacker's perspective, because it looks like now Vlahovic is at least on the outs or on the bench for today. Is Kolo Muani more fitted to the way that this Juventus team wants to play under Thiago Motta?
If Thiago Motta wants to be a bit more direct, I don't look at Kolo Muani as a hold-up player, as we say. For me, he's more to run in behind. I don't see him as a traditional number 9 down the middle. I think for me, he suits more of the modern-day attacking players like a Mo Salah out wide or an Mbappe, Rodrigo. Him going down the middle, I'm going to be interested to see how that works, how Thiago Motta uses his strengths and his ability. As good as he is, the attributes that he has, very athletic, wants to run in behind, I still feel he misses that, lacks that composure in that vital moment. If that was the case, he probably would have been playing a lot more at Paris Saint-Germain and he wouldn't have been sent out to go on loan. So there's questions about when it comes to those big moments, does he have that composure? And I think there's elements of him that reminds me of Dembele at Paris Saint-Germain, but I just don't see him as a traditional number 9. I think it's a different attributes of players.
I have a couple questions here. Number one, I don't understand the signing for starters, and hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully this guy Muani comes out and he starts scoring all sorts of goals. I don't get it from a financial perspective. It's going to cost him $8 million for 5 months of football, right? Then even if he does well, he's got to go back. Number one. Number two, Nigel just said it. He's not the guy. He needs space to run into behind. Well, Juventus' biggest issue is that they have possession of the ball. They get the ball, and when the other team sits in front of them in an organized block, they don't have the answer. So he just said, Nigel, who knows Muani, just said he doesn't run behind. He needs to be able to run behind. There's no space behind. They need a guy to open that up. And he's not a proper center forward. And my second question and problem is, who's signing these players? Is Giuntoli signing these players, or is Thiago Motta signing these players? Because with Douglas Luiz, it looked like that was a Giuntoli signing and not a Motta signing, right? Colt Miners, maybe that was more of a Motta signing because he's giving him opportunity after opportunity week after week where he performs worse or average every single week.
Surely they'd be on the same page,
Absolutely,
though,
yeah, of course.
Not necessarily.
They were on the same page?
In the best teams, it has to be a balance. A coach can want a certain type of profile, and I think it's clear now that Dusan Vlahovic is not the profile for Thiago Motta, but he didn't choose Vlahovic. Vlahovic was already there. I think the only thing that I could see with Kolo Muani, because I have exactly what the boy said, I agree with, and I have my question marks around, can he really do what Zirkzee did at Bologna? And he doesn't have that profile. The only thing I could think of from a lot of what's been said is the press, the way that he could press the opponent. And Dusan Vlahovic said many times, I don't want to have to work too hard for my team. I don't want to have to be using my legs to defend because then when I get inside the box, I'm not fresh enough. He said that when he was coached by Serbia, and that's why he's doing well there. So that's the only justification I could give. Well, but the fact that you're putting Dusan Vlahovic on the bench 3 times in a row, and it's not a physical problem anymore, and against Club Brugge, when it's 0-0, you put the guy in with 15 minutes to go, they are a big question marks, and they need this one to work out for them.
Yeah, that's a statement, but also at the time, when you play that formation, the 4-2-3-1, whenever you have your one there, that means you have to have a target man, a hold-up player. When pressure builds, you need to be able to hit someone up there that can hold it, and it's Coop Miners' job to get close to him. So when you've got Kolo Muani coming in, he is not a target striker. That's where I agree with Grella in that sense. It doesn't make sense to me.
So you don't agree positionally then? Would you say big picture, Giuntoli is failing Juventus at the minute, Grella?
If you give him a report card from his time at Juventus, it's absolutely a failure. 1,000,000% a failure. Just mind-boggling signings. He's missed on so many different guys. The Giuntoli project has been all over the place for me.
Not all of these have been bad.
Kefren Thuram's probably been the best one in my opinion for me, for sure. Yeah. That's a great signing.
Absolutely. But when the big question mark is Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz, for the price tag, it never made sense. And to think that Juventus spent 120 million plus on the midfield and they're still getting outrun in many games, that's not a good sign. And they're trying to offload him. Even Nottingham Forest is being linked with Douglas Luiz, Manchester City. That clearly has not worked. The one caveat with with Giuntoli at Napoli, it took time. It took time to be able to build a team. And even Marek Hamsik, who played for him, said a lot of the signings didn't look good his first years at Napoli, and then eventually the signings blossomed and they started to do well. That's the one caveat, but Juventus doesn't have time.
For Juventus, though, do you not think that they could have just gone for the long-term project for now, though? When you look at the strikers that's available out there, why would you go and get Kolo Muani? Why not just put the money in the bank now and
because
try
January you look.
Well, why not try and get Sesko, one of the top young strikers out there who can be a target man? Doesn't this all say to you
that the front office is not aligned with Thiago Motta and there is a big disconnect between the two?
It's the first summer that they worked together. It's the first summer that they had time to try to plan things out. They made a massive investment in Dusan Vlahovic, who clearly is not working for the coaching style that he has.
Over 140 million.
And to be fair, that's not Thiago Motta. We have to separate the two when it is. That was a signing in the past. And it clearly has not worked out. And I think the biggest problem with Giuntoli is that he did not balance the season well. The fact that they've gone into this season with one striker, Milik, I mean, he's got an injury that I've seen people come back from ACLs quicker than Milik has come back. You look at the depth, the lack of depth in the back line in Juventus's defense, and then you look at the way that they handle situations like Danilo. Danilo was the captain of Juventus last year, and the fact that Thiago Motta and Giuntoli, whoever it is, isolated him, said, we're going to rescind his contract. I mean, you're telling me that Danilo could not have played his part in here?
Great points.
I get that he's not your ideal profile, but with all the injuries that Juventus have had, you're telling me the captain of Juventus last year can't play his part in this team? That's where I start to have question marks.
And then the other one, and I don't know where this is, but Cambiaso, 65 million to Man City. I would gift wrap him. I put a bow on his head and I'd send him flying through the door for less than that.
Was it still the right decision to let go Chiesa, though? Because in the mix of all this, then they've lost another attacking player that now wants to come back.
They're in a weird balance. They're in a weird balance of the coach not wanting him. Thiago Motta did not want Federico Chiesa, and you have to also give the coach what he wants in a sense, right? If he doesn't want that as a winger, I always love Federico Chiesa. I think that he could have played his part as well. And you're looking at some of the moves, and you say he could have slotted in here, he could have done better. But you're absolutely right. The other thing with Cambiaso, though, is you're selling a big piece of the puzzle, the only natural fullback that Juventus has. McKennie's playing left back and right back. So to sell Cambiaso, you have to raise the price even more for January. Just because Cambiaso is a 50 million euro player doesn't mean you sell him for 50 million in January.
But I think Juventus are looking for 80 million.
I love being in this table right now because listen to this whole Juventus chat. It kind of reminds me of Manchester United. It's like the Manchester United of
hold on. Manchester United is in 13th place. Juventus is going to be in Champions League next year.
We're talking about players and direction right now.
Nigel, give me a quick comment about Adeyemi. How do you see that, if that is to come to fruition? Because that's for Napoli, that's another obviously big transfer rumour that Antonio Conte wants to bring him in. Garnacho was another one. Yeah,
I think the Garnacho one has died down now, and I think there's more of a serious interest from Chelsea. Adeyemi, for me, is a fantastic young talent. I feel we haven't seen the best of him, and Conte could be a great manager to guide his career. I feel that if he goes into that pressure in that situation there at Napoli, and if they do win Serie A, the Scudetto, that would be great for the young man. Great talent. He definitely could work in Serie A.
I'm just nervous. In the Bundesliga, there's a lot more space to run in, and he's really good with space. Can he dribble in tight spaces? Can he beat his man 1v1?
Adeyemi's a dribbler. He's not just, I'm going to knock it in, rely on my athleticism pace. He actually is a dribbler.
I want to see how he works under Antonio Conte's team.
The player profile that they're looking at to replace Kvaratskhelia is very similar to what he is, and don't laugh at that pronunciation.
Conte said, he's like, if we're not going to go out there and get a proper player, a player who's ready to play right now, let's not do it. We're not going to get some young, inexperienced guy. Otherwise, I'll bring a guy from the Primavera to step in. So they're going for a good profile, whether it's Garnacho, whether it's Adeyemi. I think both of them are good profiles, and now it comes down to the price. Can they get him for 40 million? Then it looks like a good deal.
I would even go for Igor Paixão at final, the Brazilian winger. That would be a great.
How important, Grella, is it for them to bring someone in to replace Kvara, or at least trying to replicate some of the numbers and
very
some
important.
Of the assists that we had?
A couple of weeks ago when we found out Kvara was leaving, Marco made a great point, said you're nuts if you think you can go on without replacing him. Neres and Politano have put a lot of weight on their shoulder. Last performance against Atalanta, they were great, but you have to replace them with someone. You have to replace Kvara with a winger that can do it. Adeyemi's a good name. Garnacho. I thought Chiesa would have fit like a puzzle piece. But they have to bring in reinforcements if they want to do the second half of the season and actually make a run for the Scudetto.